Maybe movies. We call it Nosy Dicey.
Okay.
All you need to do is you shove those up your nose, okay? You might need to tilt your head back slightly, and then just sniff them down on the floor. If you get snake eyes, then you're out.
It's pretty simple.
Helps pass the time.
I don't know if I feel comfortable with that.
If I give you a demonstration, how about that?
Okay, yeah.
Just get right up there like that. Kind of fucking snake eyes again! Come on!
Dude! So it's that simple. I'm not going to touch those dice.
Fair enough. Sure
so
goes
it's
then.
my turn. Oh no.
Unless you'd like a go.
Please, take my turn. Please.
Or not, as the case may be. And welcome back to Maybe Movies. It is Friday, and we have a new movie to build. Just before we do, as we tend to do very quickly, very quick shout out to one of our recent subscribers, to Scratchin' Pete PA. I discovered his channel not too long ago, and I kind of looked at it first of all and I was like, huh? This is just a guy scratching scratch cards. But actually this is a bit more involved than that. He's on a mission. He's trying to see if he can turn a profit from scratching scratch cards over a period of a year, and then he's charting his outlay against what he ever gets back.
Okay.
Which is really cool. But on top of that, he does a lot more stuff. He does a lot of support for other small YouTubers as well.
Okay.
So he'll have 4 other channels over the month, and then on the final show of the month, he'll put the 4 channels that he's promoted on a wheel, and then whoever wins, he'll then scratch a card for them.
The Wheel of Win.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That sounds great, buddy.
It is really cool. And again, he's a huge supporter. He always comes back and he comments a lot on our videos as well and stuff. So thank you, Pete. And with that out of the way, this is where the crazy begins.
Indeed.
Yes.
We are, after all, entering Bat Country.
We are entering Bat Country. Ooh. Ooh.
Nice, is it?
It's nice. It's not the same one as I had the other day.
Oh, right. Okay.
I'm detecting notes of berries.
Berries. Yes. Withnail and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Let's have a look at setup stuff first, because there's quite a bit to look at here. I mean, I know right at the start of the month, we kind of established that they are working as supporting artists, shall we say, in the hospitality scene.
Yes.
I'm assuming so. Initially, they're in California, and for whatever reason, they've either got a job or they've just kind of gone, screw this, let's go to Vegas.
To Vegas for an acting job, or is this...
Well, you see, I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know whether we could do the setup is that they've got sick and tired of where they're working in LA, and they've just got all their shit together in a car, and they're heading off to Vegas to try their luck. So, whereas in Fear and Loathing, the original film, this is all the places they go to while they're on assignment for a rally.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going around all these places trying to find work.
I see what you mean, but instead of having them go around looking for work, we should have that beginning scene at the Polar Bar.
Mm-hmm.
Only they're the guys who are carrying the telephones around.
Yes, that makes sense.
And then Withnail has a bit of a fit of pique, and runs off, makes a phone call, and comes back with, "We've got a job in Vegas."
Okay.
How that begins, yeah?
Yeah.
Is it not going to begin at the car, like while they're driving, or are they just...
Oh no, it'll begin in the car when they're driving, but obviously almost immediately, and you get the bit with Bat Country and the hitchhiker, and then he tells the story of how they ended up there.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to keep the jag? Because that's going to affect that scene with Tobey Maguire. Because you can't just leave out the back of the car and go and run it. Because there's
just open the car door and just roll.
Yeah,
but there's
still run
it's
out.
only... The jag is only 3
Oh, no, that's even better. That means he's got to literally climb over someone's shoulders to get out of the car.
Just
let me out!
Well, if he joins them at the back anyway...
Oh, yeah, of course.
He could then have access to get out of the car.
Push the seat forward and bundle out of the car. So, again, the main difference here is that these guys, while they do like their snacks, they don't have such a kaleidoscope of...
Well, they live from check to check, unlike Duke and Dr. Gonzo. So maybe it's like every time they get paid, they get in a bunch of shit.
Okay.
And they go on a bender.
But it's mostly going to be alcohol and
yes,
some weed, I should imagine.
Any pills?
No, I was going to say at least some speed. That's a long drive through the desert.
Yeah.
Got to stay awake, haven't you?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Withnail doesn't know how to drive, so when I lets him take over driving, he's going to be fishtailing all over the place, doing 95.
Yeah.
Which is going to terrify the hitchhiker even more.
For some reason, I still want to say that he's still wearing his coat. Withnail has just got his coat the whole time, despite being in the Nevada
Imagine
heat.
with this insufferable heat.
Yeah, and he's still got his coat on. Yeah.
So they're just going to be drunk while driving, or they're not going to be... Obviously, there's no hallucinogenics in this one. They're just going to... They're pissed already at this point, or...?
Well, it's 1971, and it's in America, so there are certain drugs they're going to be able to get hold of fairly easily.
I would imagine... Again, it's going to be more alcohol, I think, than anything else. And I can see Withnail just constantly just knocking back whatever he can get his hands on, especially when they're driving through the desert, just to try and cool himself down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's more like a suitcase full of booze and a bag full of drugs or something like that.
Empty bottles in the car as well.
Yeah.
Clinking maybe.
Clinking, yes, because instead of beer cans, it would be wine bottles.
Yeah.
You could throw in that, instead of having, when he's talking about the bottle of ether, that they've got, like, for some reason I want to put it in one of the old, the old little black cases that you used to get camera film in. So they've got a little one of those that's got a few tablets of the embalmer in there, like a parting gift from Danny.
It would be a nice shoe-in for a replacement for the ether scene.
Yes, that's what.
Even though that's going ahead of where we're currently at, but
yeah,
it would be I like it, and it's a good callback to the original.
Yeah, if you're
yeah,
that, yeah.
Cool.
But all I was going to say is when they do that flashback, when they've picked up Tobey Maguire and they're recounting how they got to where they are, when they're down on the beach near his house. He's got that lovely beachfront house, doesn't he? I know you never see them go in it, but they're just outside it.
Yeah.
But I was going to say they've just been living on the beach.
Yeah, no, I like that one. So then it goes to the bar.
We pick them up, driving. They pick up Tobey Maguire. We get that flashback to when they were working. They've suddenly decided they're going to go off and go to a job that Withnail managed to find them or something. As you said, Tobey Maguire jumps out of the car and they head off, which will bring them to the Mint Hotel.
Why are we saying they can't get anything like any LSD?
One, because they don't know anyone. Especially when they get to Vegas. But I know, because they do all of that in LA.
Plus they're actors as well.
Oh, that's true.
You got to think about that more clearly, don't you?
Yeah.
It'd be a lot easier to grab a hold of it in America, isn't it? So...
Well, especially like LSD, weed, things like that. They're grown there.
Yeah.
Does that mean we have to then invent LA Danny?
Oh yeah, maybe we do. That would be great, because that would add... Because in the original sort of shot, it's him getting the phone call and getting the job and kind of walking out and getting the car. But there's the phone call job, but they don't need to get a car. They don't have the money for a car. They already have the crap car. What do they need to do? They need to go and see their Danny and get some drugs for the trip.
For some reason, I just want him to be played by Hunter S. Thompson.
Okay, well, does anybody have an idea what we'd call our Danny? Because we can't call him Danny, that would be...
I don't know what the S in Hunter S. Thompson's name stands for, so whatever the S stands for.
Right, yes.
Could he be then the character who just goes to their hotel room all the time for...
Yeah, he just turns up,
He just turns up like that all the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's twice we see Danny, though.
It's twice we see Danny in the film.
Could he appear twice in this one?
He'd have to be a dude who just turns up in strange places if he was.
In Fear and Loathing, there's a bit when Gonzo goes back to LA, doesn't he?
Yes.
And then he calls him from LA from his office. So I was going to say, if we had a parallel for that, then he could just be in the office with Withnail in that scene, but we're not going to have that because I don't see if they do part company during the middle of the movie.
No,
I don't see him.
It does make sense because Dr. Gonzo turns up with all of the new drugs, including adrenochrome, because he was in LA. It wasn't. Duke doesn't buy a new suitcase full of drugs.
He turns up with a fresh supply.
Actually, that does more make sense.
Okay.
Sort of. I mean, that's going to be next act that we have to worry about that.
Have to figure out how where he goes
how
and
that
how that
works.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like it.
Yeah. You have to
Nice.
find out what the S now means.
Maybe if there was somebody else in the room, they could tell us. But
Maybe someone out there could tell us.
oh, yeah.
Maybe.
We get to the Mint Hotel. I'm guessing we'll get lots of stuff from Marwood at this point because they turn up and there's this rally going on, which he wasn't expecting. I don't think Withnail would have told him about that. And that the place is just heaving with people.
I'm imagining that they're, like, when it comes to the race, they're actually, like, they're barmen or croupiers in that press tent,
Yes.
which would give them the perspective on the race that we get.
I suppose at this point then we need to ask, when they get to the Mint Hotel, do they actually have a job, or is this just... They don't have a job. Withnail's just fancied going for a week to Vegas. So they've got there, and that's the first place he spots. So yeah, that's where the job is. There's nothing there for
They
them.
need more money.
And it's
They
going to
need
be
more
hard for
money
them.
later in the plot. They
Yeah.
need to earn some money.
They're not going to be very successful with getting jobs anyway, so that could just be the first thing that they do, is that they're just desperate to get any job in Vegas that they can.
Yeah, there's a race on tomorrow. You can be a croup.
Yeah.
You've got temporary hire.
That's why they moan all a lot, maybe, because then it's not the dream that they want to do, so they
No.
could then cause more problems.
Yeah, I like it. Gives Withnail an excuse to be such a whiny bitch.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a star, you fuckers!
Yeah.
So where are they staying? So obviously they won't be in a suite.
They would be in some sort of staff
Staff accommodation.
for the Mint.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be at the hotel, it would be something outside of town.
So it's
No.
probably like a motel or something.
So they come into the
street.
hotel and they see all of the lights and they're like, yeah, your shack is out back on Route 305.
Yeah.
It's big enough, it's 5 feet by 3.
Maybe
Okay,
they
okay.
echo gunshot in the background. And
Yeah.
so, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've got cockroaches for breakfast. Like it. So then we go to the race itself. Because they... Oh, no, so you wanted to do the bit when they... So I suppose they get there and they think, well, we've got some time. They've been given directions to where their accommodation is. Well, we're here now. Let's go and get a drink.
To be politically correct, there's the small waiter
Oh!
where he's been rude to him. I would imagine Withnail will do an excellent bit with him as well.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
He's
but that's
so
the bit
rude
in-
to him by throwing the change on the floor and all that.
Yeah, that's
But-
in the flashback, isn't it? Because that's the bit in LA.
Oh, is it?
Because that's where he gets the call to go to Vegas. That's when he's talking
That's
to
it,
Tony
yeah, you're
Maguire.
right.
But yeah, you're right.
That's the only thing I can add into that. But
Yeah.
other than that.
So how do you think Withnail, would he just sort of scathingly give him a comment or...
Yeah, he'd be. I think he would actually be a lot. It would be lengthier than what Duke would have done because it's just straight to the point. I think he would
If
actually
he
be
goes
quite
to Tim-
offensive. Maybe he would.
Do you know how small I am? They won't even give me fucking Shakespeare.
I was going to go, he goes for some change. I'm sorry, I'm a little short. I'm sorry.
It is, but it was inevitable, considering
Backlash
the nature of the
comments.
subject.
They get to the hotel, they've told them that where they are, yes, you're down there, you need to be here at this time to set up the bar, be ready to be on the bar in the press tent, yada yada yada. So they're like, well, we're here, there's the bar.
It's been a long drive, coming down from the speed.
Mm-hmm.
I need something to level me out.
Do we have anything? I mean, again, because I know we don't get those wonderful hallucinogenic moments in Withnail itself. So now that we're in this film, I mean,
Oh, we should get some.
we should definitely
Oh, yeah.
get some. What are we picturing here then?
That's a tough one.
I don't know, but I'm asking questions.
What it would be that they're hallucinating?
Duke sees them as lizards because he sees these people as reptiles
Yeah.
because of his experience and because of his personal perspective. But these are, this isn't him. They would probably see something different, but I don't know. Just trying to think, what would they see?
Are they taking the same drugs?
Something that would have the similar effect. So yeah.
I'm wondering if they'd actually have a similar experience to the bit in the cafe at the beginning of Withnail, where it's all of these people hungry for slop.
I'm good for the minute, thank you. Oh,
Maybe.
yeah.
And every time he looks at a newspaper, the headline gets bigger and bigger and bigger till it's floating up over the newspaper
Yeah.
and things like that.
It may not be as over the top as the picture reptiles, but
Yeah.
it could be other things that they see, like moving, like the paintings are moving or pictures or.
A parallel to when he goes to the cafe and you got the one with the egg sandwich and all those kind of things.
Well, it sort of needs to parallel the hunger that Gilliam shows. And it's that bit in the cafe has got that same
Yeah.
kind of hunger to it. They're hungry for the headlines and they're hungry for the egg sandwiches and all of that.
So maybe then instead of seeing reptiles, you're seeing pigs feeding at the trough.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah. How much do you like it?
Who's fishing? Yes.
Yeah, go on then. I'll say yes. It's up to you.
Alright, let's give him a star.
You are still only a 2-star. Oh,
You are the croupier.
well, you're on 4 as well, though.
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh no, sorry. Well, I will keep hold of the stars then.
There's still time. What do you want to do, then? Should we leap forward then to the race? We can imagine there would be something similar to what happens in the original film when they get to their accommodation.
Yeah.
Again, lots of complaining from Withnail about the state of this run-down strip motel that they're being forced to stay at.
Yes.
Probably some comments about what is this, the fucking Bates Motel?
We could
Or something.
even have the scene with Lacerta as them as croupiers whilst he's gambling and drinking, waiting for the race to start.
Nice.
So they can have a scene with Lacerta.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
He could be the exponent of the American experience in that particular scene.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll work.
And then it's the next day where you've got the race, but all we really see is just the two of them. I just imagine you just see the bar with just the two of them standing there. Like,
Yeah.
on just occasionally, oh yes, and one
But
for me.
with the dust-covered faces.
Yeah.
Like, they've got the clean suits and everything, but they've been standing there so long like it's been dusted with the dust.
Yes.
It's like all the creases of their shirts have little dust seams in them and stuff like
Of
that.
course. Again, I still imagine Withnail still just there in his coat.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
thinking that. You still get dust on it, you moan
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. But that kind of brings us to the end of the act, at least as far as I'm aware,
Yeah, because it then goes back to,
after the race.
which is their kind of night on the town, isn't it?
Yes, that's the thing. They've finally arrived, they've finally got some free time, and they go crazy.
Yeah, because when I looked at it, I was looking at what we said originally about trying to call the acts every time he sleeps, but he doesn't sleep until after the whole stuff with Debbie Reynolds, after the bit with Cameron Diaz and all that.
Yeah, it's like halfway through the movie before he actually sleeps.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
it's after White Rabbit and everything. Plus,
Oh, so you looked up the sleeping bits, did you?
Yeah, I did, and
There's the first waking up. That far through Act 2.
Well, shut my mouth. Oh, he doesn't sleep much then.
He doesn't. He really does not.
See, I was still never sure whether, even though it's not in the film, once that first night when they get to the hotel and then where you see him turning up to the race, I didn't know whether it was just supposed to be he'd slept.
You know, there's the bit when it pans across the coffee and donut stall and he says, for those of us who have not slept, we are not interested in coffee and donuts. We're looking for the hard liquor.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
So he definitely hasn't slept at that point. Although it was a good call, like, as a way of breaking the act. It's a good, like, symbolically a great way of doing it.
Can I just suggest one last thing?
Mm-hmm.
The motel that they're staying at is called Monty.
Of course it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely.
Awesome. So far, so good.
Still holding up, mostly.
It's not quite the story that we got in the original film, but then it was never going to be. But we have a reason for our characters to be in Vegas, and there is loads of opportunity for mischief to happen.
Quite a few.
Yes.
Quite
A good solid Act 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as always, please do come back and join us next Wednesday when we will launch into Act 2 of Withnail and Loathing in Las Vegas. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week.
As always, guys, TTFN.
Bye-bye.
Ba 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 ba.